Hey everybody, DJ J. Brannon here with Pioneer DJ, and we have a special treat for you. We have First Steps, Learn to DJ with the DJ Coach. DJ Hapa will lead a session not only for beginner DJs, but aspiring pros as well. He'll be using the DDJ Flex 6 throughout the entire class. So please stay tuned and get ready to learn.
Hey everybody, welcome in. My name is DJ Hapa from the DJCoach.com. We are going to have a lot of fun today. I'm going to get started. I'm just going to play some things as people come in. Welcome in. If you are a DJ, you are in the right place. If you are an aspiring DJ, you are in the right place. DDJ Flex 6 owner, you're here in the right place. We're going to get started in just a moment. I've got a lot to show you today, but I'll show you first. Here we go. I'm going to go over merge effects. We're also going to go over little jog cutter. Hey everybody, my name is DJ Hapa. I want to welcome you in. I'm so excited to have you here. We are going to get pretty deep today. We're going to go into a couple of concepts here that every DJ should know how to do. And this is great whether you're a beginner DJ or you are maybe not even a DJ. Maybe you want to be a DJ and this is something that you've always dreamed of. Or if you are at an intermediate to even advanced level. I mean, some of the things that we're going to cover today are great fundamental concepts that are great to brush up on. So I want to tell you a little bit about myself before we get started here. My name is DJ Hapa. I've had the pleasure of being a professional DJ for the last 25 years. It's crazy. I don't know where the time went. It literally flew by. I've gotten a chance to do some pretty amazing things in my career. I've shared the stage with guys like Marshmello, Bruno Mars. Actually, we did a wedding together. More on that later. Michael Jackson. I got a chance to open up for Michael Jackson, which was Michael Jordan's DJ for 2 years, which was also another, because I grew up in the 80s and 90s watching him play, and I was like everybody else. I wanted to be like Mike, and to now be DJing at his private parties was crazy. But aside from that, I've gotten a chance to literally travel to all different places of the earth. I mean, South America, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, all over the US. And, all of this from DJing. It wasn't my intent when I first started DJing when I was 16 years old to then do that and create a career in this. In fact, back then there was no such thing as really a career in DJing. I mean, it certainly wasn't common. I mean, even today it's not super common, but there are so many more opportunities today than there ever were for DJs. And culture, the DJ culture itself is just like skyrocketed, and obviously exposure to equipment and whatnot. So anyways, I am also equally passionate about teaching and educating and coaching. And I spent the last 15 years helping to build physical DJ schools here in the United States. I live in Los Angeles, and we built DJ schools with Scratch DJ Academy in New York, LA, Miami, Chicago, Philly, Atlanta. Shout out to all my Scratch fam that are out there. And since then, I have now decided to go on this journey to bring DJ education online to the masses. And a part of my goal, myself and my partners, is to teach the world to DJ. Literally have gotten so much. It's been so fulfilling. I've gotten a chance to experience so much joy in my life through this, what's in front of me now. And I can't tell you how many amazing instances I've gotten a chance to be a part of, to watch somebody transform and have this dream or this goal of like, I wish I could do that. Or, somebody coming to me super introverted and then learning how to DJ and all of a sudden like blossoming into this super confident person, or this person that was now plugged in and a part of a community. So anyways, the DJ Coach, the DJCoach.com, and actually while we're here, I also want to let you know that we've got something special for you. So I don't want you to leave quite yet because we're literally just getting started, but I don't want to forget this. This can't slip my mind. We've actually partnered up with Pioneer DJ to bring you free lessons. Yes, I said it. Free lessons. I mean, very few things are free these days. And this isn't just like, oh, here's this one little lesson of how to do this one thing, or like, here's how to turn the controller on. Like, not at all. This is full-on lessons that are project-based. You're working towards a goal. And yeah, please make sure that you go and check it out. Take advantage of that. We've got the link somewhere here below. I'm sure they've put it here. And before we really jump in and get going here, I also want to point out that we have a chat going. Obviously, this is online. We've got a chat. I love to see where everybody is from. So please, like, put in where you're from. You can put your country flag. You can say hello in your language. I love to see where everybody is from. And also, while we're going through this, make sure to put your questions in the chat as well. We've got people moderating the chat. We'll be able to help get answers to your questions and help direct you in the right place. So I know that we've got probably a mixed group here. Some people are beginner DJs, some people are aspiring DJs, and some people are maybe intermediate to advanced. And either way, what I'm going to cover today is less about beginner stuff or intermediate stuff and is more about these are things, concepts that all DJs should know. These are great things for any DJ to be able to do that will help you take you from where you're at to that next level. So let's jump in. Let's get started. I'm actually going to go over to my whiteboard real fast, and I want to write down a couple of things. These are the two, I think we should do, I thought about maybe just only doing one, but I think we have enough time. We're going to do two. So the first one is I want to show you how to transition between songs. It would be good if I could spell transition. Transition, there's an I there. Transition without mixing. So this is without blending the two songs together. That I want to show you as well, but that might be for another lesson. And some of you already know how to blend songs together. Transitioning without mixing, I'm going to show you how to use some effects and how we can actually get from maybe even one tempo to another, or just even between songs, how to kind of spice things up a little bit and show you a few transitions. And then the other thing that I want to show you is, and I think we'll have time for this, is some scratching. So I told you I started a school called Scratch DJ Academy, was involved in that, and sometimes people think about Scratch DJ Academy and are like, oh, that's where you go to learn how to scratch. And like, oh, I don't necessarily want to learn how to scratch. I don't need to know how to scratch. Well, I'll tell you what. This is less about becoming a turntablist. Obviously, I don't even have a pair of turntables in front of me right now. This is about being able to find more control over your gear and have confidence. When you have control, that equals confidence. And when you have confidence, that equals a crowd that's willing to follow you wherever you go. Like, that's what they're looking for. That's what somebody wants in a DJ. So by learning to scratch, we can also become more confident in our performance. So we can add a little bit of spice. All we're doing today is like adding spices to what we have. Now, I do also want to say that if the mixing isn't right, some scratching or this transition without mixing is not going to allow you to not learn how to mix. So it is also really important to learn how to mix as well. So for any beginners that are out there or anybody who's aspiring to be a DJ as well, like, learning to mix is also crucial. There's many, many facets of learning to DJ. I'm just going to cover these two today. So hopefully that works for you. I hope that you stay put the entire time. We're scheduled for a full hour here, and I think we'll probably run the full gamut. Again, I just want to reiterate, make sure to put your comments or any questions that you have in the chat. We are moderating. We'll be helping you with that. And without further ado, let's just jump right in. All right, here we are. We've got a DJ controller in front of me right now. This is the Pioneer DJ DDJ FLX6. Often referred to as the Flex 6. This is an awesome controller, came out recently, has some really cool features inside of it, but what I want to do is I want to just go over where everything is at, orientation-wise. And for some of you that are out there, you maybe have a Flex 6 already. And in fact, actually, all of my Flex 6 owners, give me one of these emojis in the chat, like one of those is that praise hand? Not praise hands. What is that? Yeah, like praise hands, right? Praise hands. I don't know the name of all these emojis. All right, so what I do want to do though is I want to give you a quick just overview. If you've got a different controller at home, I just want to point out the similarities. In fact, a lot of times people get so intimidated by gear. The first time you step in front of a DJ rig, if you're a beginner or an aspiring DJ, you look around and you're just like, oh my gosh, like there's all of these buttons and knobs. Like, what does it all do? I'm really overwhelmed by this. It's like being in a spaceship or like an airplane cockpit, right? So I want to break this down a little bit. I'm not going to spend too long on this because we got a lot of work to do today. But I just want to point out the similarities. So if you have a controller at home, you probably have similar features here. This is the equivalent of learning how to drive, right? If you know how to drive, you should be able to drive any car for what it's worth, right? They all essentially do the same thing. However, your car and my car might be a little bit different. But what do you do when you get into a car that you've never driven before? Like maybe you rent a car, you're driving your friend's car. You look for the things that are familiar. And that's what I want you to do today too. So I'm just going to break this down. It's pretty simple. We've got two decks, right? I've got a left deck, I've got a right deck, and the center part is my mixer. Now, you know, there are other setups, DJ rigs, where you have these three pieces separate. And in some cases, maybe you have 4 decks. So you have 4 individual decks, like 4 CDJs, and then you've got like a DJM 900 Nexus mixer in the center, right? So you've got 5 different components. Well, the cool thing about these controllers is this is all in one. It's all one piece. Makes it very convenient to be able to take with you somewhere, right? Imagine breaking down all of these other pieces, putting them all in flight cases and carrying them around. That was my life for a long time, especially with the turntables and with records. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on records. At one point in time, I think I was carrying probably 10 crates, crates of records, each holding about 100 or so records in them to the gig. Dolly, full on, it took me multiple trips from the car. A different era, completely different era. This is much better. Okay, so in some ways, some of the old heads are still wanting to get back to that, which there's something nostalgic about that. All right, so what I want to do is 2 decks and the mixer. This is a 4-channel controller, which means we can control 4 things at once. So I can control 4 pieces of audio at the same time. Now, today we're just going to control 2. So I'm just using deck 1 and deck 2. I've got an EQ section here. These are my filter knobs. We're actually going to get into the filter later today. We go low pass, high pass, more on that later. I've got on the actual deck itself, this is the exact same thing as is on the right side. So we've got all sorts of features, play, pause, cue, my pads, I can switch between different modes, hot cue, pad effects, beat jump, sampler, scratch, which we are going to get to that today. I do want to point out this right here, the shift button. So a lot of times people don't know what this is and don't know like what it does. If I hold shift and then I hit one of these buttons here, it's going to shift to that. So let's say I want to get to sampler scratch. I hold shift and then hit the button and now I'm in sampler scratch. If I want to get back out of it, I just click back out of it. So the shift button will be useful later. I also want to point out for all my Flex 6 users or anybody who's considering this, this is such an awesome giant knob up here. This is our merge effects. We're going to use that later today. Some of you who have other controllers don't have a knob like this, but if you're using Rekordbox, there's still a way to use merge effects on your controller, even if you don't have this big knob. It makes it a lot more convenient to have it, but it's not necessary to use merge effects inside of Rekordbox. And that's a lot. We went through a lot. I'm going to show you some other things as we go, but that'll give us a pretty good overview. And man, I'm just ready to jump in. So I want to go over some fundamental stuff first. Do not go anywhere. We're going to jump right into some fundamentals. Okay, so some fundamentals. We've got to jump in and make sure that we're speaking the same language. And yes, music is a language. And a lot of times, DJs catch a lot of flack because this is a different type of musicianship. Right? This isn't composition based. I mean, scratching is the closest thing to strumming a guitar, let's say, or playing the drums. But outside of that, we're blending full songs together. There's really no other musician that is doing that at all. I mean, it's a completely different art form. So It is important, though, to relate this back to music. And I'll tell you a quick story. I started actually on the drums before I started DJing. And I can read a little bit of music. I mean, it's been a long time, but I can read a little bit of music, but I wasn't a classically trained musician. Never played the piano. I was horrible at the piano. Never played the guitar. And then when I got to DJing, for whatever reason, I never associated music theory, the same music theory that I understood on the drums, to the music I was playing on the turntables. And I don't know why I didn't. I guess it just never dawned on me. But now it's really important that I teach this and that I share this with all of you. It's the same music. Music is music, and this translates no matter what you're using. So I want to go over some terms just to make sure that we're speaking the same language, you're able to follow along to what it is that I'm saying, because these terms are going to come in handy with today's lesson. So, really quick, we've got 3 terms. These are basic music theory terms: beat, bar, phrase. A beat. What is a beat? How do you describe a beat? Where do you even, how do you describe a beat? I'll wait. How would you describe a beat? Okay, I define a beat as a head nod. And I know that sounds really silly, but let me go ahead and uncover that. Here we go, it's a head nod. That might sound silly, but it's probably the most accurate way to define a beat. So let's see here. This is playing. I'm bobbing my head to it. If I was to count beats, it'd be something like this. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What I just counted was like 12 beats long, right? So we have this language. We have these increments that we need to make sure that we get used to speaking. So beat is a head nod. A bar. What's a bar? I'll give you a hint. A bar is a group of beats. Take a guess. Anybody? 4. Good, 4. 4 beats to a bar. So if I was to count out bars, I would count them out like this. And this is going to sound a little funny to some of you. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. 4, 2, 3, 4. 5, 2, 3, 4. It's a weird way of counting, right? What I'm doing is I'm basically changing the one of every bar so that I can keep track of what bar I'm on. So actually I should uncover that, sorry. A bar is 4 beats, right? So I could tell that what I just counted out was 5 bars long, right? So this is a different way of counting, but we're gonna get used to it. So a bar is 4 beats, and then a phrase. A phrase is a group of bars. Guess how many? 4. 4 is like our magic number. In fact, if I ever ask you to guess a number, you should guess 4, especially when it comes to music. Especially when it comes to music that is, some of you are more classically trained musicians, and you might know some more terminology. Most of the music that we're going to use as a DJ, especially today, the music that we're going to use right now is in 4/4 time signature. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it right now. But for all of those that do know what I'm talking about, everything that we're going to mix right now and everything that I just gave you is obviously when things are in 4/4 time signature. So a phrase is 4 bars, or I could also describe a phrase as 16 beats, right? It translates, right? So it would be the same as saying 30 seconds or half a minute, right? Same thing. If I'm saying 30 seconds or half a minute, you're able to know what I'm talking about. Same thing if I said, hey, so how long is the intro of that song? And instead of you saying to me, oh, the intro is like 12.5 seconds long, that's not an accurate way of describing the length of something when it comes to music. We have our own way of describing time in music. So it would be more accurate to be like, oh, that intro is 4 bars, or that intro is 16 beats. I would know exactly what you meant. And it doesn't matter how fast the song is, like the music theory of what I'm teaching you here, the lengths will be determined no matter what the tempo of the song is. And actually, while we're on that note, one of the other things that I want to point out when it comes to this is the idea here when we're DJing is that we're trying to mix 2 songs together, right? Like the idea is that we would blend 2 songs together. So this is like song A, forgive my handwriting here, this would be like song B. And the ideal mix, right? This actually is a part of what I like to call the anatomy of the mix. The ideal mix is that we have a period of time in which both songs are playing over each other, right? Both songs are playing over each other. This is that moment when you're at a party or you're listening to a DJ play and you're with your friends and you're like, hey, I think he's playing the Drake song. I hear it underneath it. You can hear it kind of coming up. That's this. As this song is playing, this song is creeping up, right? And you're starting to hear this volume-wise. Then this song is done. The DJ gets out of this song, and now we're into this song. So the key, and we're not going to do this today because this is another lesson, and we do cover this in the free lessons that we've done with Pioneer DJ as well. And if you don't know what I'm talking about here, I highly encourage you to go and take advantage of this, because this is the backbone. This is the foundation, the fundamental of DJing is this, being able to mix two songs together, getting them to blend together, being able to control the volume, be able to control the EQ, knowing when to get in and out of the songs. And granted, another key piece of this is they have to be within the same tempo, right? So whether I either beat sync them to make them the same tempo, or I'm selective about the songs that I find and I'm manually beat matching them, either way, they've got to be the same tempo while they're playing together here. We can't have this song playing at 100 beats per minute and this song playing at 102 beats per minute. It'll sound crazy. It'll sound crazy, right? So we've got to get this 100 to then be 102 so that they sound like they're matched up. And that's the whole idea, that they're matched up here, they're playing together for that time, and then I'm out of this song and into that song. This is our anatomy of the mix. And while I'm here, just because we're here and we're talking about it, if you're looking at these numbers and you're like, what does that even mean? We're talking about BPM. BPM, anybody know what that stands for? I'm actually surprised how many people know what BPM stands for when I teach this, like non-DJs, non-musicians. Beats per minute, right? That's BPM. Now, why BPM is important is because we've got to figure out which songs can mix with which. And actually in today's lesson, I'm going to show you how you can use this to change tempo if you wanted to. The skill that I'm going to show you today by using our merge effects, I'm going to show you how we can use this to not have to worry about staying within the same tempo range. And by the way, the tempo range, if I were to say, all right, I've got a song that is 100 beats per minute, I would say that this could mix with anything that's plus or minus 4. I told you about that magic number 4. So plus or minus 4, which means that I'm looking for a song that's between 96 beats per minute and 104 beats per minute. And if it's within that range, then that might be a good fit. That might be a good song to mix in next. I'm not saying that it will be, it might be. And so even in my own library, I play a multitude of genres. I love house music. That's kind of how I started. I got into house music first, actually, in San Francisco, and then got into hip-hop in the late 90s, and then just obsessed over hip-hop. And then kind of caught the wave of like that mashup like movement, and now what is kind of referred to as like open format DJing, where you're like incorporating, you know, different genres and trying to mix them all together, like Vegas or whatnot became famous for that as well, right? Where you're appeasing this crowd that is all over the place, that have come from all over the world. And you're trying to keep this night going, keep people energized, and be able to like dip in and out of all sorts of different genres, different tempos. And so especially for those that want to be playing a multitude of genres at some different tempos, it's important to understand BPM, and it's also important to know how to transition to different BPMs. So what I was gonna say here is that inside of my software, I can actually sort by BPM. And that's actually how I organize my music as well. So when I'm looking at my tracks and I'm looking at songs, I'm going to sort it by BPM and be like, oh, I could actually go from this reggae song to this rock song, back to this hip hop song, back to this like electronic dance like track that I have, all within sort of the same tempo range, right? Cool. So there's some foundation, some fundamental stuff. And now what I want to do is I really want to get going with the two things that we are going to cover today. So our first thing we're going to do right now. Okay, I know you're still with me. I know you're still here. You're excited to learn what we're about to do. We are going to get into some effects. And effects can be great. However, I'm going to use this analogy. I'm full of analogies. If you like analogies, I'm your guy. All right, so imagine you're cooking. I cook. I'm not amazing, but I'm pretty decent. So imagine that I was cooking a steak. And if I'm gonna cook a steak, actually no steak. Let's cook chicken, because this is actually more dangerous if you're cooking chicken. So let's say you're cooking chicken, and let's say the chicken is undercooked. No amount of salt, pepper, paprika, any sort of seasoning that I put on top of this uncooked chicken is going to make it taste good or even be safe for you to eat, right? So the analogy here is the mix itself, making sure that the songs are beat matched, making sure that the songs go together, understanding the phrasing, of understanding how you're gonna get in and out of those songs. Just the simple volume of how songs come in too loud, too soft. All of that is cooking the chicken. That is taking a very simple chicken breast and cooking it the right way, making sure that it is edible, digestible for the people that are consuming it, right? Then on top of that, if we can put some effects on this, we can put a little bit of seasoning on that chicken, right? And it can really make it come to life. I mean, putting a little bit of seasoning can really take it from like, oh, this is like kind of bland chicken, but it's, you know, I can eat it, to then being like, oh my, that's the best chicken I've ever had, right? Like that's what the little bit of seasoning will do. So that's why I want to go over effects. And let's jump in. All right, I've got Record Box 6 here, and what I'm gonna do is in the top left-hand corner, there is a little icon that says effects. I'm gonna click on that, and that is going to open up a panel. So you can now see this panel. There's a whole bunch of other knobs and buttons that have now been exposed here. So what we have is we have three different slots, and there are two different effects. So this is FX1 and FX2. So right now, I've got delay, echo, spiral, and then on this side, I also have delay, echo, spiral as well. And what I want to do is I want to show you first, without getting too deep into that, I also want to kind of come back to the controller so that we can identify this area here. So these are our beat effects. Now, you have this section, you can find this type of section on DJ mixers as well. So like probably one of the most popular mixers that you'll find in different venues is the Pioneer DDJ, or DJM rather, the DJM 900 Nexus mixer, and you'll see this, right? And in fact, actually this beat effects section goes all the way back to, I want to say, I think I had a 500, a DJ M500 back in the day, and it had that same beat effects section. So I just want to walk you through this because this intro into effects that we're going to do here, we're going to focus on an effect called the echo. So let me go ahead, and I know that that is in slot 2, and that is on the FX2. It's also on FX1 too. But let's say here I am, I've got Stranger playing, and I want to put an echo on this deck here. So what I want to do here in my beat effects section, I want to switch over to effects 2, slot 2. Now I've got the echo. That's ready to go. Then the next step down, channel select. So right now it's set to 1, but I want to set this to 2. Now it's really important that we follow this process here. So I'm literally working from the top down. So make sure that I'm on the right slot that I want, then make sure that I'm applying that effect to the channel that I want, so channel 2. You also have the ability to apply this to the entire master, what's going out, the master output. So here we go, channel select on 2, and then beat. So this is the duration, this is the parameter of the echo effect. Now, you'll notice, remember we covered some of this just a minute ago with music theory. So quarter beat, half beat, 3/4 beat, 1 beat, 4 beat, which by the way, 4 beats is the same as 1 bar, right? Yeah, we gotta get used to speaking that language here. So typically with an echo, I like to use the echo on either 1 beat or a half beat. It's typically how I like to use the echo, and I'll demonstrate this here in a moment. And you're noticing that I'm just switching between these different lengths by using these arrows. Right, the left and right arrow. All right, great. So, and again, like I'm saying, this is similar that you'll find on other Pioneer DJ mixers, also on other Pioneer DJ controllers. this same sort of layout. And then this right here is my level and depth, minimum, maximum. This sometimes is referred to as dry wet. And the way to think about this is how much of the effect is going to be on top of the song that you're actually playing. So I will demonstrate this here in a moment. You'll feel a notch in the middle as well, and that means that like we're right there in the middle, right? So we're getting 50%. 50% of the effect sitting on top of the actual track itself. And then I've got my on-off switch. This is really important. You got to make sure you turn the effect on. So none of this, the effect isn't going yet until I actually turn it on. All right, so here we go. Let me just show you how this works. So we've got echo on channel 2, 1 beat. Here we are. And if I hit play or pause, now it gives it space for that echo to ring out. That's also really important. With the echo, I want to be able to give it some space to ring out. Now that was at 50%. Now what I want to show you is putting the echo on, let's maybe switch to half beat, still at 50%. Great, and then I can turn it off. Okay, so again, really important that you stop the track, so you stop the audio so that you choke this, so that you let the echo ring out. All right, let's try this one more time, and this time I'm gonna play with the level and depth, this dry wet a little bit. So here we go. You'll see this is on, but we don't hear any echo. Right, so by using the dry wet knob in combination with the on and off, we can put more of the effect into the mix or less of it. So these knobs, this knob and this button are super important, but none of that will matter if, like, let's say here, let's change this. Let's say I'm accidentally on 4. Watch what'll happen. Nothing, right? Nothing's happening because I'm on the wrong channel. So you got to make sure that these settings are correct before you start applying any of the effects. And it's a lot to keep track of, but like I said, if you move in order, if you start from the top and then work your way down before hitting the effect, that'll help out a lot. Literally step by step, following that in order. Okay, great. So now that we have this, which by the way, the echo is actually a really great tool to use, especially this like echo out. This is a great tool to use if I were transitioning between songs, and certainly if I were transitioning between songs that have different tempos. So I actually have another track loaded up here on deck 1. This is a house track. This is at 128 beats per minute, whereas Stranger's at 104, right? So I'm not gonna try to blend these songs together. This is me deliberately changing tempo, and I'm gonna use the echo effect to show you how I can do this. So let's go ahead and keep that all the way up. This is queued up to be where we're at. Let's use the half beat. We're making sure that all these settings are right. The track is playing. In fact, I'll jump to the chorus. Testing the effect here. I'll leave it at half. Let it ring out. Now we're at 128, right? Now, a big part of this too that you got to make sure you do, for those of you who are using sync, you're using beat sync to mix songs together, make sure that you turn beat sync off, right? Because if beat sync is on, then that kind of defeats the purpose. Now it's going to make this song that's at 128, it's going to make it 104. And we don't want that. We want to change tempo. So, and like I said, this can also be a transition that you do even if you're mixing songs together. Even if you're blending the songs together, you got them going for that 8-bar mix or whatever that length is, and then you're using the echo to get out of the song that you were playing. Like you could do that also by being in the mix. Just make sure that you've got the channel select on the right deck as opposed to it being on master. So there you go. In fact, we refer to some of these effects, echo, delay, roll, like we refer to these effects as rhythm effects. And now I also want to cover a non-rhythm effect, and we want to do that real quick, which is the filter. So here's our filter knob. In fact, the filter is such a special effect that it has its own dedicated knob next to the EQ. You can also pull up a filter inside of the effects panel as well, but you've got the filter right here, and actually this is a full band filter here. So we've got high pass if we go to the right, and we've got low pass. That's the LPF and that's HPF. So check out what happens. That's a high pass filter. It's letting all the high frequencies pass through. Low pass filter. Right, and I wanted to show you this because this is a non-rhythm effect. Like you could do this, you don't have to do it according to a parameter like on a 1 beat or 16 beats. And in fact, actually, if you were to do that and use it inside of the effects, I typically like to use like flanger, filter, phaser, these non-rhythm effects. I like to use them with a wider parameter, so like 16 beats or 32 beats as opposed to 1 beat. It just gives a wider sound. So. All right, we've got a way to do this, and to do what I just showed you with the echo, we can do this with our merge effects. And in fact, actually, this is going to really add some spice to this. So to use my same seasoning analogy, you know those seasonings where it's got multiple types of seasoning in one? Like it's at like Mrs. Dash. I don't know if anybody ever uses Mrs. Dash, but it's got like some parsley in it, it's got some salt in it, it's got some pepper, it's got a whole bunch of stuff that's in it. And you literally, instead of getting all of these different individual seasonings, right, you just get the Mrs. Dash and you just sprinkle that on it. And it's like the right ratio. That's like merge effects. Merge effects is like Mrs. Dash. Now, there's certain things that you can control and there's other things that you can't. So if you really want to get in there and fine tune, merge effects may not be the exact thing, but to get kind of a one and done, merge effects is awesome. And I want to show this to you right now. So this is this giant knob that's here. Let's go into show you here. So I've got this knob here, this giant knob, and I can switch between 1, 2, 3, and 4 using this button. I can switch between 1, 2, 3, and 4. And let me show you what this does. There are several actions. One is the button that you can press down to turn it on. Then you can affect the amount that you're getting of this, the behavior that's happening with the merge effect. And then I can turn it off. And it's just easier for me to demonstrate. So let me show you. And it stops. Right, so that's pretty cool. Like this can be a really great thing to use to be able to transition. So instead of trying to do all of this or only using the echo, this has now created a combination of a lot of things that are happening at once. In fact, actually, let's switch over to merge effects 2. Okay, pretty cool. Let's go to merge effects 3. Okay, merge effects 4. It's doing all of that. And when we get into the panel, I'll show you how you can customize what this is. But I just wanted to show you how this is laid out first. Now, what happens if you're using this merge effect, like, and I want to turn it off. I want the track to keep running. I want the track to keep going. Well, I can hold shift and it'll come off. So again, I'll do it so you can hear me better, so I'm not shouting over the music. If I hold shift and hit the button, it will cancel out the merge effect. So maybe you just want to use this as a little bit of a build that's happening. This is super fun. You can have a ton of fun with this. So you might be saying, this is awesome, but I don't have the DDJ Flex 6. Can I still use the merge effects? The answer is yes, and let me show you how. All right, so inside of this area, you'll notice under my effects, merge effects, and it says merge effects 4 right there, right? And I can, here's my, watch what happens when I'm moving the knob. Turn this on, move the knob. Okay, so I could also do this by I could also do this by actually selecting it with my mouse and then moving it. Now, a lot harder with the mouse than it is by just clicking the button on the controller, but still doable. So now, let me show you how we can actually customize this a little bit. So if I click on this little widget, little settings widget, that's all the way here on the right side, this is for my merge effects. And check this out. Look at this. Wait a second. Let me put this here. Look at all of these settings. Right? So this is for the first one. This was that snare riser. So there's 3 different parts here of the merge effect. The first part has actually 2 pieces with it, so like an A and a B. First part is the build, the second part is the release, and the third part is the drop. So by turning on the merge effect, that is now active. Then when I start to twist the knob, that's what's creating the build, and it's going to be the build effect and also the build sample. So in this case, in this first one, this was this repeat snare. Let me see if I can get this to work. Here. Go to the first one. And release. So on that release was the impact snare, but there was no drop sample. And if I had a drop sample, it would make a sound. Like for this one, the 4th preset, it makes a rewind sound. And you'll notice that this one doesn't have a build sample. So you'll see that each one is slightly different, and I can change these if I want. So I can modify them and make them whatever I want. You can see if I click on this, I could have a needle scratch noise, an air horn, rewind, short boom, let's go. You're gonna have all sorts of things here. All right, let's customize this out a little bit real quick, and then I'm gonna show you how we can use this to transition between tempos here. So let's go. Let's try this out. So you notice that says snare riser custom now. And now let me zoom back out. Okay, so we're good to go. By the way, I can also lock this just in case I accidentally change something that I don't want changed. All right, so here we go. Song's playing. Let's just test out the effects first. And then, let's go. There you go. And we gotta wait for the let's go. Okay, so here's the whole thing. When you're transitioning tempo 2, you have to have some confidence because this is gonna do its thing, and then people are gonna be like, and then you need to be able to hit them with the song that you're about to play. Okay, so in this case, we're just playing demo track 1, but honestly, we have an entire lesson around this. It's called a cold start transition. And I teach you which songs can actually be good songs to use to be able to transition tempo. And we have all of that inside of that free course. So make sure you take advantage. We've got free lessons for anybody out there. All right, so here we go. Not anybody, only you, special people. Here we go. Right, and then be able to, now that was a bad place. That was a bad place to bring the song. So let me do a better job of that. Let me get to the end of the actual chorus. I'm gonna use merge effect 1. Remember, we have to turn it on, twist it. And now we're into this, right? Cool. I know you've been ready. I know you've been ready to scratch. So we're gonna get into it right now. I'm gonna go to the whiteboard. I'm gonna break this down. I know we're kind of tight on time, but I think we can make it. So we're gonna go into some scratching basics. This is stuff that you absolutely need to know when you're trying to play the turntable, or in this case, any jog wheel that we've got. You're trying to play this like an instrument. We've got to know some basic note theory. So I want to break this down again. Not again. I'm going to break this down for the first time for you guys. I'm going to go back to our phrase 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to write this out like this. This is one phrase, right? I can say this 3 ways. One phrase, 4 bars, or 16 beats. Again, it's all the same. So 16 beats, 4 bars, 1 phrase. I'm gonna put in some notes now. So I'm gonna put in a whole note, half note, quarter. Some of you are like, what? I didn't know we were gonna get into this. I thought we were just gonna wiki, whack, whack. All right, so this is a whole note, a half note, a quarter, an eighth, and a 16th. Okay, I'm gonna make this very simple. I used to play the drums. I mentioned this to you before. Had a right drumstick and a left drumstick. In fact, I think somewhere in here, yes I do, I have my drumsticks here. Aha, nice bright orange. Okay, when I used to play the drums, right, left, I have two options. When I'm scratching here, I have two options too, forward, back. I'm talking just about basic scratching. We also have the ability of incorporating the crossfader. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But if I were to play whole notes on the drums are right, 2, 3, 4, left, 2, 3, 4, right, 2, 3, 4, left, 2, 3, 4. Whole notes on the turntables would be 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4, forward, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to fill this in this chart here. Let me get rid of that. So right 2, 3, 4, left 2, oh, moving too fast. I'm trying to make the time here. Forward, back, back. That would be a whole note. Half notes. I'll put the forward in. Where's the back go? Halfway through that, right? So forward 2, back 2, forward 2, back 2. That would be a half note. All right, a quarter note. Put the forward in. Where's the back go? Good. On that next line. That next line is our next beat, right? So we've got a sound on every beat. Again, we got to get used to speaking that language. There we go. Forward. So it'd be forward, back, forward, back, forward, back. Cool. Eighth notes. This is probably the most frequent, the most popular sounding scratchel here, which is an eighth note, which is forward, and the back goes between the beat. That's on the and, right? It's on the and, on the half beat, right? So we've got forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, or forward, 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 forward. Cool. 16th notes. I'll put the forward in. Where's the back go? I've got to zoom in, right? It goes even closer. So we've got this looking like that. For those of you who know music, you may have heard this already. You may know this already. 1E and a, 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. Okay, great. So let me make this simple. I'm just going to look at one bar. Just looking at one bar. How many sounds are in one bar of whole notes? Just one, right? Okay. How about half notes? 2. Quarters, there's 4 sounds. Eighths, there's 8 sounds. 16th, there's 16 sounds. If I had 32nd notes, there'd be 32 sounds. If I had 2021, that'd be 2021 sounds. That just doesn't sound like anything. So, but that's the theory of it, all right? So this is the basic note theory of how this goes. I'm going to show you how we actually do this right now. Okay, this is a really great feature on the Flex 6 controller. I can go shift, hold shift, and then I can hit the sampler button. This is going to pull up our sample scratch. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now what's going to happen is it's blinking. So I want to come over to the screen real fast. Let me show you inside a record box how I can pull up my sampler. So right here next to where the button is for the effects, I can click on that, and that's going to open up my sampler. So you'll see that I have samples on my left deck, the left side of the sampler, and I've got noise, sine wave, siren, horn. I can add other sounds in there if I wanted to. And in fact, actually, I could just drag them in. So like here, let's take a, where's that? Here, let's go. Let's drag that in. Let's put that in the 5th slot. Okay, so we've got that there. So now, depending on what I choose, like let's choose let's go. So now that this is blinking, right, back to the controller here, if I click,
let's go,
that's going to load right on there, right? So now that I'm still in this sampler scratch mode, I can jump between my different samples. Like let's say I was going to,
let's go.
or if I jump to the 3rd one, okay, so I'm just going to use this noise sound just for the sake of doing this. I want to go through the notes real fast that I just showed you. So if I were to just play these notes, whole note, half note, quarter note, eighth note, 16th, I want to show you what this would sound like. A whole note would be forward, 2, 3, 4, back, 2, 3, 4, half, forward, 2, back, 2, forward, 2, back, quarter, eighth, 16th, forward, back to the whole note, right? So that would be like our version of scales, let's say, on what I just played. Now, all of that is great, and learning to scratch can actually be a really great tool to have in your arsenal. In fact, we can use this even in that whole tempo transition that I showed you. Instead of just scratching a sound, I could actually echo out of something and then scratch in the next thing that I wanted to do, right? Like I could do that instead. So there's so many ways to use the scratch, and being able to pull this up, this is something that I've always wanted, because instead of having to find the scratch sample that I want and then load it on the deck, I can keep them in this sampler, ready to go, and then just switch over to scratch sampler, right? Or sampler scratch. I can switch over to that and then just hit the sample that I want. I love this feature. It's so great. And if you're a scratching DJ or you want to be able to scratch in sounds, this is going to really, really change everything for you. In fact, actually, I should tell you this real quick. I actually play the turntables in the Miles Electric band. So it's a 10-piece jazz band, and I play Miles Davis's voice. How amazing is that, though, to then be able to jump to where I want and be able to scratch this in? I'm going to use this all the time. I do want to show you one other thing, which is using something called the jog cutter, because there are all these other types of scratching effects that you can use in here as well. These are great things to learn how to actually do these scratches, but in the meanwhile, there's some really cool things that you can do with this to kind of add, again, more seasoning to what it is that we're making here. So I want to show you that. Before I go over the jog cutter, though, I've got to show you what this does. You see maybe DJ is using this, you see all this, like, what are you doing with that? All right, this is the crossfader. From all the way to this side, I'm just hearing this song. From all the way to this side, I'm just hearing this song, assuming both of these are up, right? And if I'm anywhere in the middle, I'm hearing both. This is what we're going to use to be able to mix songs together. But I can also turn this into essentially like an on-off switch. So check this out. Right, so I'm using this to cut up the sound. And in fact, I could actually do all sorts of things here. Right, so I'm using this crossfader as a way to do that. Now, with jog cutter, you can take some of these scratches, things like the chirp, the flare. You may have heard of some of these names. I mean, scratching goes deep, man. You can get real deep into scratching in that whole world. You can do combos of things, chirp flares, and all sorts of things, orbits, and all sorts of like weird sounding named scratches that are really cool. It all comes down to your rhythm and timing when it comes to this. Also your dexterity, a lot of practice, a lot of time practicing. But inside of here is a really cool feature called the jog cutter. And what this is doing is, are we close enough on my jog wheel here? Can we see this? Can you guys see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? There's like these 6 lines around the wheel here. Those 6, I was gonna say quadrants, but I think quadrants is 4, right? Like quadrants by definition would be 4. So whatever the 6th version of that is, you've got these 6 sections. And what? Hexagon? Well, a hexagon would be the shape, but I mean a hex rent? I don't know, hex rent? We're making up words here. So if I have this though, you see where the red line is? So where the red line is in relation to these different sections, it will produce a different sound. So I'm going to show you. So I'm going to turn on jog cutter. Now it's flashing. Check out what's happening. Now notice I'm not using the crossfader at all. So depending on where I'm at, and then when I let go, it's going to go. So if I were to, like, let's say, do this, turn on my jog cutter. right? So that's using the, without even the fader. Gonna add in the fader too and do all sorts of things. So the jog cutter is a cool way to be able to do this. I'm gonna put it all together right now. Before we get out of here, do we still have time? I'm gonna put it together real fast. At 2 minutes. All right, here we go. So Stranger, we're gonna go into, let's go, or here. As this is playing, I wanna show you what I could do. Turn on my jog cutter. Okay, and then let's say I want to switch my sound. Let's go, what are we gonna do? Demo track 1, right? So here we go, load. I feel the pressure. All right, hold on. Got that ready to go. Got that ready to go. I gotta turn off beat sync. We're not trying to beat sync, right? Right, added just in a little scratch there to be able to bring the song in. That's all, just a little something. The right amount of seasoning, just the right amount, can make a huge difference. I hope that you found all of this helpful. We are here to help, as I told you at the very beginning of this whole thing. My goal really is to teach the world to DJ. And like I said, we have this partnership with Pioneer DJ where we're offering free classes, free lessons on how to use your equipment that you already own. So if you're a Flex 6 owner, if you're a DDJ 400 owner or DDJ 200 owner, we've got an amazing opportunity for you to go through a 7-day or a 5-day DJ challenge. You can do that for free. It's normally $100, but you would be able to do it that way. And if you're not one of those owners, I still want you to check this out because we've got something for free for everybody. I feel like Oprah. It's like, you get a class, you get a class. We're giving away free education because this will not DJ by itself. Like, you need to learn the skills. Like, this does not make you a DJ. Buying the equipment does not make you a DJ. You've got to learn how to use this stuff, and we want to be able to help you. And we want to fill the world with people that understand how to DJ and have more respect and understanding of what a DJ actually does. So I want to play something real quick. Before we get out of here, I want to play something so you can see what is involved in what I'm talking about. The 7-day or the 5-day DJ challenge. Let's roll it. Ignite your passion for music. Learn the art of DJing and start rocking live streams, dance floors, and parties. Do it hands-on with a coach. Go from a beginner to rocking your first virtual party in just 7 days with this limited time free challenge. My name is DJ Hapa, and I've taught hundreds of thousands of people not only how to DJ, but how to use music to make a dance floor come alive. The DJ Coach offers a step-by-step, interactive, hands-on experience with accountability to help you use your new controller the way you've always dreamt. Click Learn More to get started, but hurry, this is just for a limited time. I'll see you in there. That was awesome, right? Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. My name is DJ Hapa. Make sure to go to the link below, thedjcoach.com/Pioneer DJ. We've got something free for you. Make sure to go there. I'll see you inside there. Everybody have a good one.
Thanks, Hapa. That was awesome. Love learning, especially learning when it involves the DDJ Flex 6. And if you need more information on this, you can always hit us up online at pioneerdj.com, or social media channels all have the same address, Pioneer DJ USA.